So thank you for the work that you do. My question, Mr. Secretary, is, for example, in Wyoming, our number one trading partner is Canada, and you and I, you may not remember, have had this visit before. In order to make sure that our country can continue to feed itself, you have to have, people in farm and ranching continue to exist, and part of that requires the assurance we're going to always have strong international trade, and I know you're a believer in that. I just asked you to address international trade where it is now and where you think the future in international trade is.
Well, right now it's, as you know, the renewed NAFTA, which is called the USMCA agreement, has been signed. It's awaiting congressional approval, and I'm hoping and trusting we'll have to work on that. But by all means, this USMCA agreement is better in virtually all respects for America than the original NAFTA was. And I don't know, other than people politically wanting to make points saying you didn't get this or you didn't get that, we didn't get everything we wanted, just like we didn't in the Farm Bill, but we got an improved trade agreement with Mexico and Canada, both huge partners. Both of them are in the top 3 each and every year, and it's imported up in your area. We got the wheat issue and Governor Burgum over the wheat trade issue, wheat grading issue that was a real problem with your wheat farmers there going into Canada. We got that resolved. The dairy issue in the Northeast, more access for dairy and poultry and eggs in that way. We've established a new model of international trade dealing with biotechnology and other types of things for the future, as well as electronic commerce. So it's a much improved bill from the Mexican-Canadian perspective. That's only part of the situation. We've got to get these 232 tariffs, the retaliatory tariffs, done, and we're working on that through a aluminum steel quota rather than a tariff that would eliminate those so we can have that true free flow of trade between North America. Then we're moving on to Japan, which is really important for the Northwest. It's a huge customer of the product from there. We would love to have an agreement with Japan that was even more positive than TPP. TPP has been ratified and will begin to start taking place next year. And we want to get ahead of that game as those other international tariffs starting to come down. We'll be at a disadvantage with Japan. So it's imperative from an agricultural perspective we get a bilateral with Japan done. We think that President Abe has indicated that that's possible, and it's never done until it's done. But I know Ambassador Lighthizer is very strongly focused on that. And then China is another situation. There's relatively positive news recently, but that's certainly a situation where it's never over till it's over. And we're continuing to have discussions. I think there's a willingness on both sides. I always felt like it probably had to be with leader to leader to make that done, but the devil's always in the details about that. China really has to structurally change the way it does business regarding intellectual property transfer and theft, and make fundamental differences in the way they view their international responsibilities regarding the world trade. So we're hopeful for all those. We're going to be working on all fronts there. Aside from that, money in the Farm Bill we're going to use to build market access in other places. I personally feel like we became too dependent on China's market. I think we need to look at the Indo-Pacific in many ways, from the Philippines and Thailand and Vietnam and India and Malaysia and Indonesia, those kind of places that have a lot of people, a lot of hungry mouths that have not been as open. We probably haven't worked as hard. China, after we kind of cracked the egg, they got easier to go, and we just kept feeding them. But any business person will tell you, you don't want 60 or 70% of your business in one customer. And that's kind of what happened in some of those things. So I think that's looking positive. There's still some real hurt out there in the ag community over the trade disruptions, and we're trying to mitigate that the best we can. Okay.